that not surprise me?
Oh dear.
I found these ones outside the
At the pub.
Stanley pub on the window. And I worked out
Were
about
they from last week when you dropped them?
That was a card.
Worked out that after about a year, I worked out they are actually prescription glasses.
Someone else's prescription.
Welcome everybody. I advise that I'll declare the meeting open and advise everyone that the meeting will be recorded in accordance with council policy to record meetings to assist in the preparation of minutes and to allow live streaming of council meetings. A reminder to everyone to turn their mobile to silent or off, please. Secondly, Council acknowledge the North West Tasmanian Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of the country in which we stand, meet and play. We recognise their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay respects to elders, past, present and emerging. I'd ask the upstanding for prayers, please.
We pray to you, who are Mother, Father to us all, for wisdom and clarity in discussion and debate. We ask that your light shines in our hearts and illuminates the decisions made here tonight on behalf of the community. You who are one, although known by many names, and whose truths are expressed in many faiths.
Thank you. Councillor Vosky, it's fine for you to remain seated through the meeting. Attendance, we're all in attendance, so therefore no apologies. Confirmation of minutes. So have I got a mover for the minutes for the last meeting? Councillor Collins, seconded Councillor Flowers. No debate? I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. 3.0, declaration of interest. Have any councillors got any declarations? Okay, 4.1, Mayor's Communications. There's a list of meetings and bits and pieces there. Is anybody, any questions? Councillor Hine.
Yes, on 3rd of the 10th, what was discussed in Australian energy infrastructure, and then on the 6th of the 10th, there's another one there, TasRex Renewable Energy Meeting. What were they about?
The first one, the 3rd of the 10th, was effectively most of the councils where there's renewables around Australia. There was you having a chat, finding out where it was, what was happening, what problems were having. It was that sort of
A national
it was a national one, yeah.
And what was the outcome, or what was this? Any?
I haven't seen no report back on it. I was trying to think while I was talking of the gentleman that was running it, and I can't think off the top of my head. Andrew Dyer. And that was he was collating that on behalf of federal government or the area there. So, but I haven't seen a report back. It was generally an information gathering session for them. And the 6th of the 10th, TasRex Renewable Energy Meeting. Help.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that was the TasRex CEO coming around to all councils actually to talk about this new company that's been set up and their hopes to get involved in offshore wind development. Very high level at this stage.
And very early. Any further questions? 4.2, 4.3, there's notification of the workshops there. Of the discussions we've had in our workshops. So, if I could have a mover and a second that they be noted, please. Moved Councillor Dabner, seconded Deputy Mayor. Put the motion, those in favour.
Aye.
Against, carried. 5.1, response none. Public questions received in writing. Public questions without notice. The council encourages community participation in its meetings through the opportunity for public questions and statements consistent with the council's core values. Councils and staff strive to ensure all people are treated with courtesy, fairness, dignity and respect. We expect our residents and ratepayers to apply similar standards in dealing with councillors. As Mayor, it is my responsibility to maintain the orderly conduct of council meetings and determine whether a question or statement is out of order due to use of offensive, objectionable or defamatory expressions. I ask members of the public to show proper consideration and courtesy in these comments. Tonight I intend to give everyone an opportunity to ask 2 questions, so and there may, if there is more, we may well allow that if there's time. So, Craig, I presume you're here to ask a question, mate.
Yes. Craig Porteous, Smithton. Thank you for the opportunity to raise my concerns. I have a little bit of a lead up before my 2 questions. I'm not sure that all councillors are aware of the condition of Circular Recreation Ground main oval. During the past football season, because of the poor condition and the safety of the ground, football games had to be moved to alternative grounds, which created huge financial loss for one of the clubs, mainly the Saints. My first question is, why has there been no direct communication with the football clubs that are paying to use the grounds around what measures are to be taken to stop a repeat of this again next season? And my second part of the question is, and has there been any consideration given to compensation for the Circular Saints Football Club for the loss of income last year, estimated to be around $18,000?
The first part of the question is, Craig, is that there is a part of our agenda in our closed session where we are considering a tender to sort that problem. So until such time as we come to that decision, we couldn't really go backwards and forwards to the club. But after this meeting, I would presume there will be some information we can supply back there. The second part of the question is, in short, no. This council, or the last council, voted and supported the restart of the Saints financially in a fairly strong way. It's unfortunate and disappointing that the ground got to a stage where those games had to be moved. But we've already supported the Saints in the setup, and it's an ongoing. I think it's still got another year to go. So I can't see how we will be moving forward to reimburse anything there.
Just for clarity with that, the compensation deal that was made was shared with the recreation centre and was shared amongst the youth bodies. So the Saints only got a very small portion of that.
It was, but it was all come about through the start-up of the Saints.
Yes.
So the council has provided considerable funding to the restructure and re-emergence of the Saints, so I can't see us going back to the well now.
The first part of my question, I go to again that we have had no communication, either the Circular Footy Association and the Scottish South Football Club, and I think maybe the Saints as well, have had no formal communication at all from the council or the Nation Ground Authority.
As in?
Any communication at all about what's going on or anything?
I can't comment on that because I don't know, but as I said, it's in the closed agenda, mainly because there's numbers involved in it, and we'll have some information to come out after this meeting.
Through Mr Mayor, maybe that's one to take on notice and check with the staff in terms of recreation officers and depots and things like that.
Yes, because through you, Mr Mayor, I know that Deb's talked to several people about.
She talked when the ground was being used. We talked about the grand final, but we never talked about anything since. There's been no communication.
That's a taken on notice.
Yeah, we'll take it on notice, and then, but we'll have something to communicate back after this meeting, which I would imagine can be done next week. So.
Yep.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
Is that all? Thank
Thank you
you.
for your time.
See ya.
See ya. Public statements, no. 6, planning authority items. Bill. Oh, I remind councillors, we're now sitting as a planning authority.
Don't know if my voice is going to hold up, but we've had an application for a change of use at 115 Greenpoint Road, Marrowa. The recommendation before council is to approve a permit for the change of use, visit accommodation, subject to the following conditions. And the conditions are that the use and development will be a change of use to visit accommodation and must be substantially in accordance with the planning permit, which has been circulated as part of these minutes. All parking and visitor use is to confine to existing hard stand areas adjacent to the dwelling, and loading and loading of vehicles is confined within the boundaries of the property, and all costs related to the infrastructure or upgrades are to be met by the developer. So in noting this, that the proposed use will have little impact on adjoining properties which are located further up the hill. There's no increase in traffic noise. It's a 3-bedroom premises, and that remains to the number of vehicles that will come and go. The scale of development is compatible with the rural setting, and there are no safety impacts on local roads. The proposal meets all the performance criteria in the planning scheme, but we did receive 2 representations which are a civil matter and not necessarily a planning matter. And these matters relate to the joint use of an access road to the 2 properties. The access road goes partway into the property. The joint right-of-way goes partway into the property, but not all the way round to the back of the property where there is car parking. So the representations objected because there was no legal access to the property. The proponents came back with a modified proposal locating the access road further down the hill where there was an original access to the said property. So the location, and we've got so because the access road has been relocated, it meets all the requirements of the scheme in terms of access, use and parking and so forth. So there's no, based on those modifications to the plan, there are no grounds for appeal because the proposal meets the performance criteria in the scheme. The property has its own separate access. I have an email here from Leanne Smith that says just that we've assessed our access to our property at 115 Greenpoint Road, Marrowa, and have decided to change our access to where it was originally meant to be, between G and L on the plan of survey. This is not the plan of survey, but they've moved the road, the access road. You can circulate if you want, but it's probably not going to be a lot of information. That's just my drawing to explain it to myself. We're also going to gravel a large area at the front of our house for plenty of parking, and the area that you can turn around with trailers, etc. This will become our main access to ourselves and any visitors. We're going to fence the perimeter of our block with the change of access. This will make it much easier to fence than that we originally thought of doing. We'll put in the gate to the old access and to the back of the block, which we use for the odd occasions by ourselves. So, although it was a civil matter, they took it into their own hands to resolve that access issue, and their application, based on planning grounds alone, is discretionary but permitted by the performance criteria in the scheme as it was assessed by our planners.
Thanks, Phil. Is there any questions to Phil on that? So, Councillor
Through you,
Collins?
Mr Mayor.
No, don't. You've done the set-up in planning.
Planning. I'd just like to ask Phil, that access, does that still come off the same road frontage and then swing into their boundary as far as, because they have to drive a fair way up there to get to the house, or does that come in off the same access?
It comes in off the same...
It's very difficult to understand.
It comes in off the same axis
Okay.
and it swings around.
So it goes in front of the house, does it?
Yes, I assume it does.
Right. I couldn't make out on the map. There was a little tiny bit of
Oh, yes,
mark, but
I'm
it
sorry.
wasn't very clear.
So Mr Mayor, the right-of-way is here, but it's not continuous, and they've moved the road further down the hill. which-
Right, it's just that there is a
Off the
big...
existing access way to Greenpoint Road. So
Right.
it comes in off Greenpoint Road, swings to the left and around.
Okay. Yeah, it's just that was, there
So they
is,
do have, oh, sorry, Sam.
there is a rather deep runoff drain there and it's a very steep hill, so it's just,
Yes,
would
well, that,
create problems.
yeah, that's been assessed by the application and the gravel road, and that satisfies
Yeah, I
the
was-
engineering condition, the assessment by the engineers.
right.
So it is in that setting, so
So legally, if anything happened in that area, neither of the other households could get in any trouble as far
no,
as
they're
legal.
not liable. I mean, it's
They're
on
not-
their property, so it's
Right.
their own insurances will.
Okay, I just thought with a shed, it sounded like block number 7 was liable for 6 and 8, the way I read it as far as the driveway.
It's private land.
Yep.
Yeah, only, and the driveway is, a joint right of way.
So it is a
got-
right of way, it's not that, no, I was understood that block 7 owned the access and that the other two were meant to be doing private accesses of their own. But it sounds like they're doing it anyhow. Yeah, all right, thank you.
Councillor Pilkington?
So they have got legal access to where the drive starts now.
Yes.
Councillor Hine?
Yeah, question on page 20, or 3 of the 9, on the last paragraph, how then it says this one car space can be achieved by using existing hard stand area. So, and in her handwritten correspondence on page 34, enclosure 2, it does mention 1 to 3 cars. So what they proposed now to do, will that then be redundant, or will you pull that out, that condition?
They're
or?
going to use the existing car parking hard stand. Well, I read.
But this indicated that you're only allowing one car to park there, where now it looks like there's more work been done and
Yeah,
thought
they're going to park
put into
more
it.
than one car.
Because
They'll be parking more than one car.
that's right. So then this needs to be retracted, or
What page was it?
page 20, the third bottom line.
So the amount of extra vehicles would be 1 to 3 cars.
No, this here says this car
Oh, there,
space can
okay.
be achieved using existing hard stand area adjacent to the house.
That's what they've written, is it?
Because,
It's in one of the planning report.
Planning report.
yes. So it's page 3 of the
I see
9.
the page numbers here.
3 of 9
Oh,
or
here we
page
go.
20 of
Keep
174.
going, keep going. A bit more.
What was that page that you just had there a minute ago? Was that driveway?
I think the answer is yes, because that the additional gravel that they will put down will expand the parking area.
It's a very big parking area anyhow.
Yeah, so that
So-
condition needs to be withdrawn then, doesn't it?
No, because it says, it's worded that the restricts parking to this area. So that's still the same area, they're just expanding it.
Right, but it's stipulated in there 1 car space. As I read it. this one car space can be achieved using the existing hard stand area.
And 3 can by with the extra gravel. And it's okay.
Yeah,
I
so
think
it is,
Tony's-
so it's 1 for the existing, plus the
Yeah.
extra gravel can accommodate 3.
Yeah, righto.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the way it's meant to be read.
Yeah, that's the way it's meant to be read.
Oh, well, that's the way it's written.
Right.
All right, any more questions?
We can add to that if necessary, but I see where you're coming from, Tony, that it says 1, but now it's going to be 3.
Yes, well, so that needs to be reworded then, doesn't it? Just to,
I don't know
So
if the
say-
planning report actually needs to be reworded, or if you can just accept that as
It's-
written by the proponent now.
Trying to read the,
This
okay, fine, okay.
He said you can have a party if he wants to.
Based on, yeah, that's a mistake, actually. I think the way it's written,
Well, especially with that extra gravel now, it probably needs to be
I think so. That's it. Yeah, I think it says in the conditions that all car parking for visitor accommodation used to be confined to the existing hard stand area adjacent to the dwelling.
The conditions.
Yeah, that's a condition of the permit. So the plan that's presented delineates the hard stand area, and this condition says that all car parking is to be confined to that hard stand area. So there is a slight, seems to be a slight wording issue here.
Well, I think that was done before, through you, Mr Mayor, through the proponent came up with a solution. So I think it's a case of amending it to include that solution.
yeah, I accept that, and I think that's what needs to be done, but it's written into there, and it's something that someone could pick up if,
Fair enough.
Right. So we'll need, can we move a motion with an amendment?
Yes. I would move the motion with an amendment to that condition as
Condition.
identified by the proponent.
Condition 2. Right. No more questions? Is there someone willing to move the accept the report with an amendment to condition 2?
subject to that, yes.
To,
Instead of existing,
yep,
instead of existing, it's to the proposed hard stand area.
Yeah,
yep.
remove his existing.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll move that.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm
Just
happy,
remove
I
existing?
was happy to move it, yes.
Councillor Popowski, you happy to second that without existing? Yep, so move Councillor Hine with that adjustment. Matt, you got him?
Yep.
Second, Councillor Popowski. Any debate? Anyone wish to speak against? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Phil. We're now returning to our standing orders and into our council format. 7 point...
Apologise.
Um, 7.1 is responses to questions taken on notice. There's Councillor Flowers' questions with the response. Councillor Flowers?
I was notified or asked for more information, yes. I left a message with Matthew, said that next time they go out, either contact me and I'd attend, or contact the owner, which neither of us was contacted. No issue has been fixed. The issue hasn't been fixed. The issue hasn't even been looked at. If they're going to go out there, wouldn't they be better off to get their information before they head out than just going out there and saying, no, she's all good, or she's not all good. And I'm not happy with the response.
Thank you. No councillors' questions received in writing. Councillors' questions without notice. Councillor Olager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is, for some 18 months, we have sought to have a report regarding playground equipment. Where are we at with that? Because people keep asking when they're going to do something about some playgrounds.
Yep.
Well, if you remember, councillors, councillors agreed that we have doing an open space strategy, and as part of doing that strategy, we're considering the location of playground equipment, including regional playground equipment. So we've, council have engaged Inspiring Place to carry out that work. You know, it's been a reasonably difficult to get the right consultants who are available to do this piece of work, a very important piece of work, and that it's commenced and will be completed by June 30th next year. So the whole issue of play equipment is to be assessed in terms of the open space network and the broader different classifications of open space. But in the next couple of weeks, 7th of December, I will be doing a presentation at a workshop with councillors looking at this issue of regional open space and discussing those regional open space issues with you, particularly how regional open space, the location of regional open space reinforces Smithton as a regional centre within the municipality. That's going to be an open discussion and a presentation of ideas. But I would envisage, if we're talking about regional play space, that it has to be discussed in terms of that the location of the regional open space and Smithton as being the regional centre. So there'll be opportunity for you to ideas and thoughts about play space generally. It's generally agreed and that there hasn't been a strategic approach to our open space, and hence gaps in the open space network, including the provision of playgrounds. And we do have a fragmented approach to delivering play space across the municipality. So the open space strategy will give us direction, but I think it is timely for councillors to discuss a regional open space and the content of that regional open space and how that relates to the provision of regional play equipment and broader play and leisure opportunities. I wish there was a quick fix to this, but there's not. We need the strategy, but we also need to move on with some concrete ideas about where we locate open space which is most accessible to the well as Smithton as a regional centre within the district.
So, if I may, Phil, so after that workshop, we'll be probably in a position where we start to give some idea to those that are talking to us pretty regularly. Because like John, a group's been talking to me regularly, and I'm sure other councillors have got that as well.
I think it's like a lot of these issues, John, in answering that question, is that because we've reacted to community concerns in a way, we really haven't had a strategic approach to providing these assets, and therefore we've got a problem that is emerging now, that people are wondering why we don't have certain things. And so we're going down that process.
Yep. Thank you. Councillor Flowers, then Councillor Hines.
Here a few months ago, I tried to get a motion up about the Dip Falls park, which is owned by Parks and Wildlife. Now, I got some documentation, I got everything from management. Now, what was given to me was an absolute lie. Not only did they lie to me, they lied to everyone else sitting around this table.
Be sure of your facts.
Yeah, I'm sure of my facts.
All right.
Don't judge me. And you even argued with me that $28 an hour was the going rate. It's not the going rate. I've never received an apology. No one else has ever received an apology. The municipality didn't receive an apology. You swindled through that without getting, so I couldn't get that motion through utter lies. Now,
And your
I
question?
didn't come here.
And your question?
My question? Give me time.
No, we'll have your question, please.
Well, what's going to happen to the people that was telling lies? Or do they just wiped under the table? Like, I didn't get on council here to be lied to. Like, and I even argued...
Indoor voice, please.
Don't start on me.
Please.
I'm just saying.
keep
You was the one
respect.
arguing, you argued with me over the rate. And if anyone sitting around this table think you can employ someone for $28 an hour, you're all dreaming. You can't employ anyone for $28 an hour. What really made me wild, you sat up there trying to make me look like a fool.
I've never tried to make you look like a fool.
You sat up there trying to make me look like a fool, and you're lying to me. And what do I get? I get a piece of paper saying, oh, yeah, but we charged them more, so it don't matter. It's not, no thank you, no nothing. There should be no apology, not a thank you, no apology, no nothing. Like, the whole lot of us were lied to.
Question in this or not?
Yeah, I did. I asked the question. What action is going to be taken?
I can't see any action being taken.
What do you mean no action? So it's fair enough for you to sit up there and lie to us and no action taken. There's got to be action taken.
Rodney, I don't think anyone's lied to anybody.
It was a blatant lie. It's there in writing.
If there's any, it may have been an error of what's going on, but no,
there was no error. I argued black and blue. You even argued with me. I argued black and blue. Everyone else was sitting around this table. And it was a total lie.
I don't accept that.
Well, you're going to have to accept it.
Well,
It's in writing.
right, we're not having an argument here in public meeting.
Well,
You've
it
asked
should
the
be brought
question.
in public meeting because you tried to make me look like the fool in
No
the
one-
public meeting.
No one
It
has
was all
tried.
right when you were making me look like the fool, but now the foot's on the other
No
foot.
one has tried to make you look like a fool.
Yes, you should try and...
No one has tried to make you look like a fool.
By telling me lies, you was making me look like a fool.
Thank you. I'll ask you to resume your seat.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and listen to you tell lies. You can't tell the truth. I didn't get on council to be lied to.
Very good. Any more questions? I think Councillor Hine was next. No, you was someone else?
Going back to John's question,
Steve?
with Inspiring Places, are they going to come to us before the are we going to get a chance to see interim reports?
You will, and you'll be involved in a workshop up front. It'll be after Christmas now. You'll certainly have an input and to be able to represent the community's views at those workshops.
Councillor Hine?
Yeah, on the same question. So we're going to get a final report on the open spaces by the 30th of June. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yep.
Only on play equipment, on open spaces, not the total revamp of the report.
On open spaces.
Open space, the whole spectrum of open spaces, but noting that there is interest in a regional playground, we're bringing those discussions forward to see to advance that topic.
Thank you.
The initial part of the when we split the open spaces report, was going to split, the first part that was going to be dealt with was the playground, the alignment of all the playgrounds or the reassessment of all the different places we got into one, and that was really the first priority in the open space report.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yeah.
Just one other thing about this is that the revitalisation of the CBD, the regional open space that exists east and west Esplanade and links across the river, and the actual environmental quality of the Duck Bay are very important elements of Smithton becoming, the regional centre it should be. And so we need to have some of these big picture discussions to actually agree on some principles moving forward, including the regional open space discussion, because they're all related.
Yeah, I got the answer. We're going to try and have it done by the 30th of June, so if anyone asks questions, we can...
Yeah, and like I said, there's obviously groups talking to people. I'd suggest all the councillors.
Yep.
And it's very much at the forefront, has been for a long time. Councillor Popovsky?
No, I didn't have a question.
Oh, sorry, I thought you...
No, just look intelligent, that's all.
That's changed.
All right, any more questions? Thank you, we'll move on. 8.1, notice of motions. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. The motion I've brought forward tonight relates to a statement that is attached to this, just in brief. I actually have the full statement if anyone would like to read it. Written by the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls. Her name is Ms Reem Al-Salam, and the statement is titled, Allow Women and Girls to Speak on Sex, Gender and Gender Identity Without Intimidation or Fear. I move that Circular Council notes this statement, firstly. Secondly, that Council also supports the principles of safety, fairness and dignity for women and children. The Council agrees that women and girls must be able to constructively and respectfully speak on issues of sex, gender and gender identity within the Council and in our community without fear or intimidation. And that Council considers this statement when safety, diversity and inclusion related frameworks, strategies and plans are reviewed or developed in the future. So what I'm asking is that we note this statement, which relates to gender diverse people or people that identify as a gender other than that we're born with, being able to wander into the opposite sex toilets or change rooms or sporting facilities, in which, for example, if a man was to say, I now identify as a woman,
I'll get a
going into...
I'll get a seconder. Then
Yep.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Dabner? Yep. Proceed, please.
So if you look at the rationale behind her statement, it talks about the ability for women and girls to access single-sex sports and spaces is now being eroded globally, including here in Tasmania, of which Ms Al-Salam refers to some specific events that took place in our state. Changes to legislation in our home state have replaced sex with gender identity, which means that any male can identify as a woman by simply stating they are a woman. In doing so, the male is granted immediate access to women's sporting categories, female change rooms, toilets, showers, female prisons, shelters and rape centres. And in practical terms, this also means that women requesting health and intimate care by another woman must accept that this may be provided by any person who identifies as a woman, opposed to an adult human female. That's just one little section I've taken out of the statement. But in my travels today, I was at Swirl, where 2 whole primary schools were doing their Learn to Swim and water awareness activities. And I sat there and thought, what if this happened here? Because all of the parents that were there supporting those children in their Learn to Swim, I was there as a grandparent, none of the parents are allowed into the change rooms. It's the new policy for child protection. They can't go in and dress their own child during those swimming activities. But a man who says, I'm a lady, can go into those toilets where there are young girls changing on their own without parental supervision. The lifeguard goes in beforehand and turns on the showers for the boys, the male lifeguard, same in the female, but the parents can't go in. Now, when you have that kind of policy in place where a parent or a grandparent can't go and dress and undress a child who, I'm talking grade 1s, they're quite young and little, and yet somebody identifying as the opposite sex can go into those areas, I want to see council support this so that we may not... I don't want to be able to override what the legislation is or what the police say we can and can't do. I'm not standing here going, I'm going to force somebody out of a toilet cubicle. That's not what this is about. This is supporting this statement so we're seen to be a little proactive in looking at the issues that are going to escalate in the near future. This is going to become huge. And whether that means down the track we change the signage on our toilet blocks, I don't know, but it may come to that. But I just wanted to bring this to the fore and hope that you'll support this statement. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Debney, do you wish to speak? Open to the floor for anyone to speak. For or against? Councillor Hine?
Yes, I'm asking why is it necessary after the word... I'm suggesting you delete the bottom 2 lines and the and in section 3.
I took the and out.
In 3?
In 3, that you... that it actually ends or intimidation, because the way I interpret the bottom part, it considers this statement when safety, diversity and inclusion related framework strategies and plans are reviewed or developed in the future. We don't know what that's going to be and what's going to come forward, and we should have some input to that. So I'm suggesting, and I'll support it, if we delete those 2 bottom lines and the end.
Right. The safety part relates to the fact that some of the incidences that have happened recently have come about because women and young girls have spoken out about these issues and have been vilified, abused verbally, had things thrown at them, spat on. I believe that anything we implement in the future that is connected to this kind of issue, as far as someone being able to just speak out against what I'm talking about, should not be put in a situation where they're going to be acted violently towards or vilified in any way just for saying, I'm afraid for my child to go into a toilet block, just for saying, I don't want a man who, whether he says he's a woman or not. So we don't, yes, you're right, Councillor Hine, we don't know what's going to come up in the future, and maybe if you want to reword that, I don't know, but I just want Council to support that statement so that we can help women and young children, especially young girls, be able to speak out on this without being treated like second-class citizens. Because the man in this case has all the rights, because he says he's a lady. We're living in a crazy world.
So I'd like to move an amendment that if that's the way to handle it, to delete those bottom lines, because I think everything's covered above, and we don't really know yet what's going to come forward as far as...
Yep, accept your amendment, before I ask for a seconder, it does say consider the statement when...
Consider it.
When we're looking at things in the future. It doesn't, that's all that
That's
statement's
all it
saying.
says. Consider this statement.
Is to when we're looking at things in the future. So do you want to continue with your amendment? It doesn't say we have to do anything or anything, it just says consider. Which is, if I'm reading it, understanding it right, is what Deputy Mayor Dawes is trying to get us to that.
Yes, but do I need to stand up and talk again? The bottom related framework strategic plans are reviewed and developed in the future.
Yeah.
And so...
No, it says considers.
Consider this statement, but...
You don't have to adopt it, you
No,
consider it.
just consider it when you're dealing with anything to do with safety, diversity and inclusion.
Right, let's move before Councillor Oldacre pulls a point of order on us. So you want to proceed with your amendment?
I think it's important.
Right, so you're proceeding with the amendment? Is there a seconder to the amendment? The amendment lapses for lack of a seconder.
Thank you.
Any other speakers? Councillor,
Just for clarification on the motion, in passing this, are we at odds with the state government laws, are we? Is that what we're saying? We've brought this around to our notice because the state government can't cover this type of activity?
No, it's not.
May I?
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. It's nothing to do with the...
I don't quite understand why we need to do it when the state government should be able to do it.
There are councils.
We're not seeking to change any legislative provision. It's not within our purview. What we are saying is that we support the principle that women and children should be able to speak up without vilification.
Which is not at odds with the state government?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions?
I do have one question. So, if we adopt this statement as a guiding principle, if that's what we're looking to do, are we able as a council to say, in the circumstance of Swirl, where the Education Department must have the policy regarding children?
Yeah, it's
parents?
part of the new safety for children, yeah.
Can we have a safe access policy during those times at Swirl to prevent that circumstance, or is that something council has the power to do?
Through you, Mr Mayor, there are aquafit classes that happen this morning at the same time as these swimming lessons. There are males and females in those classes. They can go into the toilets.
The same could happen in football.
Anyway, that's what I just said, sporting, I said it in...
We're not in committee,
No,
That's just a question.
I'm only asking that you consider it.
I think the word considers in what we do is the important part of this. So it's, in other words, if we do change room somewhere, we consider the ongoing application of complications that may have consequences there. So I think that's the important word on that. No further debate. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. 9.1, Customer Service Charter. Who's got that one? Rachel?
It's me, Mr.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, councillors. Before you we have the Customer Service Charter. Every 2 years, council needs to re-adopt the charter, and I think it's only been done about in the last 18 months, so it's about time for it to be renewed again. The charter outlines our response times that we get back to customers in terms in telephone, written and email requests. So there's various ways that customers can interact with the council. So the charter outlines the response times. It also talks about social media and it being a channel for distribution of information, not a formal customer service portal. Also, it outlines the expectations of customers as well too. So being respectful and honest and things like that and having their values in the interactions with council staff. And also commits that council will communicate clearly and in plain language to customers as well. So, yeah, under the Act, under long section there, section 339, we have to do this. Council review its customer service charter at least once every 2 years, so be satisfied with the requirements under the Act, and also give some more direction to staff to reiterate what the customer service charter is for them to follow. So I'll present that for Council's consideration, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Rachel. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Popovsky.
I'd just like, in reading through the document, I didn't see where in the charter that feedback, if requested, is to the person who report the customer service request. I didn't see it written there where you'll give feedback if requested. Could that be possible?
Feedback as in?
With the resultant of the complaint or the request. Like if you put down there that the customer would like to be advised of the outcome, it's not written in there. I don't think it is. I didn't pick it up. Because I've put in a couple of service requests and asked for feedback, but I haven't received it. So I was just wondering if we could write it in the charter.
Well, that's what on page 48, the requested service and the standard is the times. Did you actually put that in as your name or the proponent's name or the customer's name?
I asked for that as well as. In the comments, I asked that, could you let me know how you get on?
Okay. Mr Mayor, how that would sort of work in terms of our system.
I think it's polite to respond if asked to do so.
Yeah. I think the thing is too, Mr Mayor, what would make life a lot easier for everyone. I know councillors take customer service requests from constituents.
Yes.
And it would be much better if the person could get in contact with council themselves and go through that process instead of the councillor being the middle person. I know in some circumstances that's not the best case, especially if it's something controversial or something that they don't want to deal with themselves. But if the person can get in contact with council, then we can have direct communication with that person instead of having to go through the elected member then back to the other person as well too. So I think that would stop that. But there's obviously one there that you've put in that didn't get a response back. So I can follow that up. If you can send me an email of what it was and when it was, I can actually check and find out what's actually happened. Do you normally get one back as well?
No, but in this particular case, in Cunningham's and Swirl fence line and what's the name was the latest one I put in.
Right, okay.
But Mr Cunningham rang me and said thanks. They've come down and talked to me. He gave me feedback,
Yep.
but I specifically asked for feedback. No, I just wanted to know if we could put it in the charter, that's all.
Yeah, okay. I think that's, through you, Mr Mayor, that's probably more of an operational thing than actually in the charter. I reckon it's probably the setup of the system that hasn't worked on that occasion. So if you send me an email.
Yes, apologies for that, Councillor. It's
Yeah.
meant to work in that way if you've asked for feedback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah,
So if you can send me an email, I'll
No,
chase that
I'm
up.
quite happy that
Yeah.
the process was done and he come back to me, but it's not in the charter. That's really what I'm questioning.
Yeah. Not sure it needs to be, but yeah, if you can chase,
No,
if
I'm
you can
happy.
send me an email so I can chase that up and actually find out what happened with it, to find out if there's an issue in the process.
Yeah, no, he told me what they were going, the way forward.
Yeah, no,
It's
but
been
it's in the
it's
process
been
of you
handled.
not getting a response.
Yeah.
Because if I don't know where it's fallen down in the process, I can't fix it.
No, probably my writing.
No,
Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thanks,
So
Rachel.
I'll present the report for Council's consideration of the Customer Service Charter.
Is there a mover? Thanks, Councillor Dabner, seconded by Councillor Collins. Debate? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Financial report.
I'll go again. Thank you,
Keep
Mr
going,
Mayor.
yeah.
Councillors, we have the financial report for the period that ended 31st of October. Page 53, we have 4 in total for first homeowners grants for the year. We, on 54, we have the comprehensive income statement. We currently have a operating surplus at this stage of 5.4 million. That will gradually dwindle down to our annual budgeted deficit of 723. I'd also mention at this stage too, we still haven't got our financial statements signed off from 2022-23. So generally they're done by the 30th of September, but we've just been having some issues there with File and the audit contractor. So they've had some resourcing issues on their end. So Vanessa's kindly chased that up with the Tasmanian Audit Office, which has been out of their hands a little bit as well too. So we need to get that one sorted, ready to have the AGM on the 14th of December. That's that one. On to the statement of financial position on 55. We've got community equity of 272 million. In terms of the cash flow on 56, we have cash at the end of the period at 21.1 million. And in terms of the receivables, our proportion uncollected at this point in time is 23.76%. It's actually higher than this time last year. It's because we raised a larger supplementary rates in the middle of the year not too long ago, which has impacted on that figure there. In terms of sundry debtors, we've got a current balance of 1.17 from page 57, 1.172 million, and that note too there that we've got some about $500,000 in that figure for still outstanding that we've billed state growth for bridge replacements. So that makes that look higher than normal. In terms of our bank rec and investments, we've got all the rates there of the various different term deposits that council owns and bank accounts. And also from page 59 onwards, we've got the service area report, which shows the revenue expenses for council service areas. Then on page 62, we have the cash and investments comparison for this year compared to the last 2 years. So I'll present that for council's consideration, Mr Mayor, and take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Dabner.
Just with regard to the 457,000 for state growth, what sort of terms do we give them? That's been out for a while now, hasn't it?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. We have 1 month from the current month. So basically, if it's raised on the first of 1 month, it'll be due at the end of the next month. Yep. Yeah. So, but I can chase those up. Sometimes they tend to lag a bit depending on which department it is and which person it's gone to and their payment cycles and things like that too. So, yeah, so I can chase that up.
Any further questions? If not, could I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Dabner. Second, Deputy Mayor. Put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. The Thui's Lookout. James.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, before you, this is a report to determine a position on the future of the area known as the Trethui's Lookout. As per previous discussion at workshops, the Trethui's Lookout is an area located next to the Stanley Highway. It is used frequently by tourists and motorists alike to stop and view the Nut Vista on the way into Stanley. PSG are proposing to upgrade the highway through there, and they have requested that council determine a position as to the future of that lookout. So DSG are offering to upgrade the highway, including a roadside barrier, including upgrade of the access and egress to the site at Department of State Growth expense, subject to design considerations. For council to retain the lookout in its current state and to retain access by the public, DSG have asked council to take over the maintenance and ownership of the seal asset within that lookout area. So, this is a report for council to consider. One, whether it wants to keep that lookout open, and two, whether council wants to take over that seal asset. So the recommendation is that Council confirm in writing to the Department of State Growth that its position on the area known as the Trithues Lookout is that it should remain open for use by the general public, and that the proposed Stanley Highway upgrade project should include design and construction of infrastructure to provide for improved pedestrian safety and safe vehicular access and egress to the site. And 2, agree to take on and maintain the proposed new asphalt sealed surface and pavement asset located within the Trithues Lookout area, and seek to formalise that arrangement through a lease or a licence. So I present that to Council for consideration.
Thanks, James. Questions? Councillor Oldacre.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just reading through these recommendations, I note with interest there's no comment made about having a viewing platform alongside that guardrail. And I thought that was going to be part of, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that was to be part of the infrastructure that we would seek from the state growth, as to that we would do that, save them having, because they won't walk up the bank, but they might get, and it didn't have to be very, so long as you lift them high enough that they, when they're taking photos, they don't get that guardrail in.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. It was considered through the workshop discussions with state growth that a lookout might be an improvement to that area, and it might allow for users of the facility to take a better photo of the nut, but also consider that that could happen separately, and it wouldn't be part of the state growth's current scope of works. So, in summary, I guess Council could consider in the future, if it sees it within their strategic direction, to consider a lookout separate to the Stanley Highway upgrade.
Councillor Collins.
Through you, Mr Mayor. I was just going to ask, maybe if that was a consideration and platform was required, would it be worth trying to coordinate something with state growth, or would we only be in their way, and do you think it would be better left at a later point once they've developed it, then we could possibly design and implement a platform?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, it was considered that probably later would be a better time to do any proposed lookout work, just to ensure that it's properly planned and it fits within strategic direction, and yeah, it's not hindering any highway work.
Right.
Yeah.
Councillor Hine.
Yes, I'd like to move to amend it or add to it.
So you want to move a motion?
That we change the word, but then add 2 more points in addition to the 2.
Let's try it this way. Let's see if we can get a motion for this, and then you can move an amendment.
Right.
It might be a bit less befuddled. Is there any more questions to James on? Have I a mover for the? Have I a mover for?
So moved.
Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. Second to Councillor Collins. Now, if you want to pounce Councillor Hine, go.
I'd like to move that an amendment, and on the second line, we take the word out, agree to take and maintain the proposed asphalt, to replace the word the with a, proposed asphalt, so still keeping the whole thing in line with what we want to do. And then I'd like to add, and I can email this to Matthew if you like, so we can put it up on the board, if that's.
Well, go out, read it out, and then we'll see if we can second it, and then we'll.
So change that word, and then 3 years pending. Point 3A, that a council workshop that includes our elected representative and relevant council officers, together with at least the adjoining landowners, so that a workshop be called and consider, including the adjoining landowners, in attendance so we can seek their personal observations and suggestions on any upgrade to sewage lookout. B is 3B. Pending on the above discussion, consideration be given to invite State Growth, road engineers and our council staff to jointly prepare a plan for what we as council have previously suggested, but also look at any alternative suggestions that may be forthcoming from the proposed workshop. And my personal, just speaking to that part.
All right.
All right.
We need a second before you can speak to it.
Righto. God, now I've lost it. Right. And number 4 is that external funding sources be sought to assist with any funding requirements if a platform is to be built, example state and or federal tourism departments, perhaps even a black spot federal funding. And if you look at page 65, it identifies a traffic safety issue. And so I think we've got to look at further afield. And
right. So now did everyone hear enough of that, or do we need to get it up on the board to have a look at before someone considers seconding it, or?
Yeah, can you please? Yeah,
Yep.
that'll be helpful.
Yeah. So if we just, thanks, Matt.
you might be able to word it better than what I have. And quick to do it.
Steal your thunder.
You've got to move the page sometimes, don't you?
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor, we're having a bit of a problem with the display tonight.
Okay. So Lucas is working diligently in the background,
Yeah.
right?
Can I ask a question regarding the amendment to fill the silence, or have we got to wait for a move up?
We should wait for a second, but we'll fill the silence. Go and ask it all out.
The change of the word "the" to "a", what's that about?
Because I think if we look at it in the discussion, if I can I speak to that? Well,
answer the question. Yeah.
First of all, I think we're all in agreements that needs to be a platform there of some sort.
Are we?
Well, I think that was a consensus of the workshop. That might be one or two against it, but there is a need for a platform, and I strongly believe that. And Sally suggested one on the other side, but to do that, it's got to be wheelchair access, and so therefore there's a fair bit of extra expense in putting at one. I think it's 1 in 7, is it something like that, metres that you've got to.
Yeah.
And to go up 2 or 3 metres, you're looking at a fair extra expense, and I'd like someone to do a bit of lateral thinking and see if there's a way that the platform could go on the other side of the road and safety issues.
So no, D and A.
Just asked you about the word "the" and "a."
I don't understand the difference the change of "the" to "a" makes.
Because it allows looking at 2 options, one either side of the road.
Does it though?
Well, we have.
The-ash. Oh.
So it just gives a little bit more. If we say the, maybe you're right. Maybe, but which section you're talking about? The current one, or might be the one on the other side of the road. Put the road.
But there is no
There isn't one on the other side of it.
Right, well, we better wait for a second and do this properly.
What's Matt doing?
He's busy. he's managing, he's typing out what Tony was speaking,
He's under
or
pressure.
Councillor Hine was speaking.
I'm quite happy to leave the word there if that, if, you know, there if that.
Oh, well, if we get a second, you get a chance to speak, and then you can do all that. Right, here we go. Right. So the first part was easy, which is a D to an A. And then it goes on from there.
Yep.
3A, 3B. So when you've got a chance to digest that, is there anyone willing or wishing to second the amendment? Have we all read it? You're understanding where Councillor Hine's coming from? Now I'll ask the question, is there a seconder to the amendment? If not, the amendment lapses, and we go back to the original report. Well done, Matt. Good typing. Right, so now is there, now we're going to move in a second. Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. You move?
I did, yes.
You wish to speak to it?
Well, I'll wait for somebody to second it first.
I thought, yeah,
Oh, you did.
Councillor Collins did, yep.
We sat here in a workshop and went through that, the whole process. Government have a limited amount of money to do it. We have people been lobbying at us to do that. The viewing platform that was talked about at that workshop was on the left-hand side going in, alongside the rail, so it lifted you above. That was asking for the question about why wasn't that included when you was talking to state growth? Because that's what we had talked about. Wanting to do that differently is fraught with a bit of danger, because if they run out of money, we're going to have some trouble getting some money out of them. That was the reason why we done it that way. The amount of money that state growth have got to do that Stanley Highway is very limited. And when that budget was done, and not trying to stand here and defend government, but there's $10 million to do that. If you start having to put a cutting in there, and by the time they do people's driveways, and there'll be some driveways that might not get renewed, you run out of money, and the first of the things that get cut out is things like this. It just attracts people from all walks of life to pull up there and want to take a photo because they get the town in front of the nut. They cross the road at the present time because they don't want that guardrail in it. And that's what we've tried to in that workshop. That's what we have tried to get away from having that there. That's why they put that viewing platform on the left-hand side, and it doesn't hinder anybody. So therefore, we need to be doing it, and we need to support this.
Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. Councillor Collins, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I agree with Councillor Oldacre. I think what we've got proposed there is a good proposal, and if Council want to go ahead with a platform afterwards, we are still probably working with suggestions, but one of the suggestions was to put it near the guardrail at the front of the parking area so that the cars could park behind it, and then people were approaching the platform. That got them up high enough with a lower platform to be able to take photos without the guardrail in their photos, and I think basically that's why a lot of people cross the road. So to alleviate that problem, it would be a lower platform proposed at the front of that parking area, as long as it wasn't going to be blocking the line of sight of traffic.
Thanks, Councillor Collins. Councillor Popovsky.
Mr Mayor, it's been stated at the workshop, and we're all aware the area is not council's. It's state road, and the pull-off area is on the state road reserve. Therefore, I'd like to move the following amendment that remove point 2 from the recommendation.
Right, so I think we can all understand that.
Pretty simple.
Without Matt having to type up unless we have to. Right, so Councillor Popovsky is moving amendment that point 2, agree to take on and maintain the proposed new asphalt sealed surface, etc., be removed. Is there a seconder to that amendment?
I'll second it just so we can have a chat about it.
Right, seconded by Councillor Dabner. Now, you'll need to write that up. Thanks, Matt. Councillor Popovsky.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Dabner. As I've stated, it's a state road, state responsibility. With the upgrade to be done in conjunction with the road upgrade, little maintenance is required for 25 years. Therefore, the ongoing cost to the state government is minimal and no depreciation is required. For council to licence or lease, it is required council to depreciate $3,000 a year, $75,000 over 25 years. An unreasonable impost on the ratepayers with little benefit. I know it's a visitor service. Council already provides such a facility for visitor photos on the Green Hills Road, therefore meeting with the commitment to enhance visitor services. On the other state roads around the state government already provides tourist pull-off areas and facilities, for examples, the bottom of the Helia Gorge, the Finger Post with toilet facilities. And if you drive to Cradle Mountain, you can look across to Cradle Mountain, there's a pull-off area with 100 metres of walkway provided by the state government. They're pulling the wool over our eyes. Therefore, I reckon it's unreasonable for the council that should take over this facility. We should not be involved that's not ours. And I ask the councillors to remove section 2. That's my... And I don't believe the state government will walk away. There'd be too much political backlash. So let's not have section 2.
Thanks, Councillor Popovsky. Councillor Dabner, do you wish to speak?
I do, Mr Mayor. Just a question. So you're proposing that we do what... Nothing changes, so that it gets sealed, the guardrail goes up, at some point in the future we build a lookout, but we're not paying a lease or maintaining the asphalt or paying the depreciation on that piece of land for nothing, really.
Well, true, what you're saying, and at the workshop I did raise, but it wasn't in the report, that we could do any work they require, if they so require, that we'll do a maintenance fee for peppercorn maybe, as goodwill, on that area over the next 25 years. So simple.
And save the depreciation.
And save us $60 a week.
Okay, gentlemen, we're in the formal debate, not workshop.
It'll save us $60 a week in depreciation.
Thank you. Councillor Dabner, you wish to, any more?
No, I'm done, thank you.
Any more comment around the table? Councillor Collins.
I'd just like to query whether actually, if we did do as Councillor Popovsky proposed, then are we eligible to be able to put a platform there? Or does it stay as it is? Because then it's Department of State Growth and we don't actually own that land to be able to put anything on it.
Is that something that you might know, John?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. It'd be much more likely that we would get permission from State Growth if we had a formal lease or licence arrangement on the area. The risk would be if we didn't take over a formal ownership arrangement of the area, the State Growth could look at closing the facility to address as a way of reducing the pedestrian safety concerns.
Councillor Olaker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On the 2nd of October, we sat here and had this discussion. That's the correct date, I think it is. Had this discussion, and sure, Councillor Popovsky raised some matters. The we shouldn't be taking it over. We were round the table and everybody had the opportunity to have their say. At the end of the day, the majority rules. And what we agreed to that night, to come forward, was that we would take that over and make sure that that was done properly. And that would give us the opportunity to put that viewing platform where we wanted it. Disappoints me that you've got to put up amendments to do this. You're entitled to your view, sir. Don't have a problem with that. But at the end of the day, the majority rules.
Any further? Councillor Hyde?
Yes, I wonder whether we shouldn't go back to add to that then, because we've not covered the platform. It's something down the track, but that we signal that...
We're debating this amendment at the moment, which is to remove part 2.
Right, sorry, yep.
That's what we're debating at the moment.
Yep, sorry, yep.
No further debate?
No, well, I got the right to reply on that.
Yeah, before you do, you certainly have. I won't be supporting the amendment. I think we did thrash this out. I believe the risk of us not supporting it means that it may not be there, either for risk reasons or financial reasons. I think it's an important part of some early visits into circular heads. So. Now, Councillor Boss, you got a right to reply.
Yeah, I heard what Councillor Oldacre said. Yes, we did workshop it. Decisions are not made at workshops. Consensus was there. It wasn't reported in the report that we raised the not taking over the area, and also the other thing that was put forward the other thing that I raised at the workshop was a maintenance agreement, and that's not written in the report either. Going back to support the amendment, I honestly believe we're imposting the ratepayers for little benefit. We already provide the facility at a great place and a safe place up on the Green Hills with a beautiful view, and I think the state government are trying this out when I believe it's their responsibility. So once again, I ask the councillors, do we impost the ratepayers for very little advantage?
Thanks, Councillor Poposky. All right. I'll put the amendment is the motion, so I'll put the amendment that point 2 is removed from the report. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Aye. The amendment has failed. So we now return to the original motion. Yes, Councillor Hyde.
Yes, so I think the consensus was, and I think most of us agree that we need to sort of look ahead and there be some sort of a improved platform there. So is there some wording we can add to that signals that we keep it on the radar and it's our policy that this is what we'd like to do?
James, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that would be a budget consideration for us once we're in place. If this is taken up, that would be a budget consideration for us to do and apply down the track.
I think so.
Yes, it would. Through you, Mr Mayor, you could add a point 3 to the effect that council consider through its budget process the addition of a suitable lookout.
Suitable lookout.
You want to do that?
I'm prepared to do that, yes, and add to it, so because I think...
Now we have a...
Well, all this, Mr Mayor, all that's needed is for the mover and the second to agree to that.
Yep.
Then there's no...
Correct.
Yep.
So, Councillor, you're happy to move that? Councillor Collins, you're happy to second? Yep. So you've got point 3, that through...
Council considers through its budget processes
A viewing structure.
Of
suitable.
A suitable viewing structure.
Yep. Happy?
Yep.
Thanks, Councillor Oldacre and Councillor Collins. Saved a little bit of time. You got it? Yep. Right. No further debate? I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. 9.4, James, you're back.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For you, councillors, is a report to establish a position on the future of some aged assets at our boat ramp facility in Smithton at the East Esplanade. As per previous workshop discussion, there are two timber jetties in particular which are old and in need of attention or replacement in the near future, and two associated concrete ramps which are also close to the end of their useful life and non-compliant. Council have carried out an assessment of the utilisation of those facilities in light of the fact that there is also a newer floating plastic pontoon and two newer compliant concrete ramps as well at the site. So the assessment revealed that the aged assets were underutilised and considered that there was no favourable cost-benefit case to replace those assets. So the recommendation in that case is that council determines to dispose of and not to replace the two aged timber jetties, jetty 1 and 2, and the two associated ageing concrete boat ramps, boat ramp 1 and 2, at the East Esplanade Smithton site during the 24-25 financial year. I'll present the report for consideration.
Thank you. Questions to James on that? If not, can I have a mover for the report? Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Councillor Oldacre.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The removal of these two jetties is a matter of occupational health and safety, and if we was to sit here and not do something about it, then we're all liable for any injuries that occur out of it. So therefore, it's recommended that these two be removed, and the sooner it's done, the better.
Thanks, Councillor Oldacre. Deputy Mayor?
No, I agree with
Any further speakers? Councillor Foskey?
I support point 1 there in the removal of the boat ramps, but I'd like to add an amendment, please.
Certainly.
Amendment be that council, point 2, retain point 1, point 2, that council makes contact with MAST and submits a grant application recommending for a second pontoon facility be installed at the boat facility at East Esplanade, Smithton.
Amendment City. It's like we're little the gap reading, isn't it?
Make sure Matt's got his typing skills still.
You can tell we're doing our homework for you, Mr. Mayor.
You're quite right, Councillor Foskey. People reading their reports. Wait till Matt gets set up. His fingers are going beautiful tonight.
For the second reading.
Oh, I'll second that. No problem at all.
Right, what I'll do here then, I'll ask the original mover, would they be comfortable just to add that to their motion?
That's okay.
That's all right, the seconder? Who seconded that?
I did. Oh, no.
And it-
Annette, so you happy with that?
Yes, thank you.
Right, so we'll just make that part of the first motion then. Any further speakers then? For or against? Not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, people. If anyone moves an amendment to this one. General Manager.
Funnily enough, Mr Mayor, I do have, this is,
Oh, potential to do that, yes.
this is,
Any of the GM's into it.
I'll explain why that's this is obviously a procedural report to set the dates for the meetings for the next year. But on page 77 of the agenda, we've also listed the proposed workshops. And in fact, the first workshop in January, the 4th of January, a number of people will be away on holiday. So we are proposing actually to cancel that workshop. I don't think we need a formal amendment to the resolution.
Oh, damn.
And I knew this one was coming.
So you've already got it out?
So I present the report.
Right, any questions on those dates?
Mr Mayor, without being, whatever the word is,
Pedantic?
pedantic, does those April, March one, do they clash with Easter?
Aye.
You just ask
Easter's
it.
at the end of March.
End of March.
Well, it's okay, you just,
Yeah.
But thank you for thinking of it.
and the first workshop in May will clash with Eggfest.
Well, that's, yeah, we'll deal with that when we get close, because it has some effect, but not as much as it used to. All right, can I have a mover and a seconder for those dates to be noted? Thanks, Councillor Dabner, seconded Councillor Collins. No further debate? Put the motion, those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. That's not quite an amendment. General Manager again.
Yes, through me, Mr Mayor, we've been provided with the Cradle Coast Waste Management Group annual report, which is presented to Council for information. I am happy to, it's fairly comprehensive, the covering report outlines some of the key actions and projects. Happy to take any questions and answer where either I or James can tonight, if there are any, or take them on notice.
Questions? If not, could we have a mover that be noted, please? Councillor Poposky, seconder. Councillor Dabner. No debate?
No, thank you.
Put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Senior Manager report again. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Senior Management report this time, I'd just like to highlight a couple of the community things. We don't have a community officer here tonight. Very successful visit to the lobster ponds during Seniors Week, which was very well appreciated by those who went. And I'd also like to commend the 4 young people who gained their motorcycle learner licence through the Full Gear programme. We do have a second round happening with 5 participants, and I think that's very good news for the community and young people. I'd also like to highlight the toilet upgrade at Stanley Rec Ground, which is well underway and on schedule to be completed prior to the show. And finally, the motorised movie screen has now been installed at Stanley Town Hall, which will improve the amenity there. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any questions to the General Manager on her report?
Would it be possible to sort the projects carried forward and completed with the 100% down to 0 for ease of reading for old people?
Through you, Mr Mayor.
You understand where I'm coming at there?
I do completely, Councillor. It's set out that way because that is, if you look at the strategic plan link on the far left, it's in order number of as it works through the strategic plan. But I take your point, and we'll have a look at that for you.
If it can be done, it's just then you can start to look at what's been achieved and what's not. It's a good report. I like the report, but the brain gets a bit fuzzy.
Thanks, Councillor Babosky. Any further questions? Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Seconder, Councillor Dabner. No debate. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. I've lost my place. 9.8 we're up to. Minutes of other committees. We have just the one, Circular Head Health and Wellbeing meeting. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, would it be possible to get a spreadsheet of the running minutes received from our community committees? They're spasmodic, and I find it difficult keeping up whether we're getting minutes and what delays and that. We previously used to have a tick box that said that we'd receive minutes on certain dates throughout the year. So if that can be doable, it just keeps us across what the committees are doing and when they're meeting.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Take a note. Yep. Presumably so. Thank you, Councillor Babosky. Any more questions or comments? If I could have a mover for that, please.
So moved.
Thanks, Councillor Babosky. Seconded. Councillor Dabner. Put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. I now need a mover and a seconder for the following matters to be proposed for consideration in the closed meeting.
So moved.
Thanks, Councillor Holdacre. Seconded, Deputy Mayor. Put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. And I think I need another mover. A mover that we close the public meeting. Thanks, Councillor Hine. Seconded, Councillor Collins. Put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.